How to get a real estate license in Florida. Have you heard that Florida is the #1 real estate market in the country right now? It is. Florida is one of the hottest markets in the entire country, and I'm going to tell you exactly how you can get a real estate license and start making money in Florida. Let's go.
Noel. Yeah, she can fix that. If you gotta get it done, all you need to do it better. Well, she can fix that. Yeah, she can fix that. Investment to get back, trying to get a big stack. She can fix that. Let's fix that.
I'm going to provide you a detailed step-by-step on how to get a Florida real estate license for as little money as possible. I'm going to share with you 3 insider tips on how to get your real estate license quickly. And I'm going to tell you the biggest trap to avoid when getting a real estate license in any state. So let's talk about the real estate business. When it comes to buying and selling real estate, you are probably familiar with real estate agents and what they do. Some real estate agents will represent the buyer, meaning they will work for the buyer, they will help them, take them in their car, show them different properties, and help the buyer find a home that they want to buy. And when that buyer buys a home, that buyer's agent will receive a commission, usually paid by the seller. Also, when it comes to real estate agents, we have the seller side. The seller is represented by a real estate agent too in most cases. The seller will find a real estate agent that will help them list their property. That agent will go to their home, give them a presentation, tell them how much they can charge, what they do, and they put a sign in front of the house and they sell the house. So in a typical real estate agent transaction, there's usually 2 different agents, one that represents the buyer and one that represents the seller. However, it's a little bit weird because in any case, most of the time, the seller is the one that is paying both of those real estate agents commission. So when you sell your home, most real estate agents will charge 6%. Now again, this is not across the board, but I'm just using round numbers here. Generally speaking, it's 6%, which means 3% will go to the seller's agent, the one that represents the seller, and 3% will go to the buyer's agent, the person that represents the buyer. So again, this is how typical real estate agents get paid, and this is how they work. Now, as a real estate agent though, that 3% does not come directly to you. It goes to your broker. Let me explain that part. So like I said, real estate agents work for brokers, meaning all of the different brokers that you may see. For example, you've seen RE/MAX, Keller Williams, Century 21, eXp Realty, for example, which is the broker that I work for as a real estate agent. Real estate agents must place their license with a real estate broker, and all of the transactions are really through the broker, meaning the real estate agent is not paid directly. So remember when I said 3% will go to the seller's agent and 3% will go to the buyer's agent? Well, really what I meant is the buyer and seller's broker, not the agent. So the broker, and then the broker will pay the agent. So for example, say you sell a house and you get a 3% commission, the house is $100,000, that's $3,000. But you work for Century 21, just using that as an example. Century 21 will get that $3,000 and then they will pay the real estate agent the difference. So if they split the commission with you 80-20, they take 20%, they'll give you 80%. They may split it with you 60-40, where they take 40 and you get 60. In some cases, you have to split it 50-50. Every broker is different, and this is something that people really do not understand. Some brokers don't take any money at all. You can have brokers that will pay you 100% of the commission and you just pay them a monthly fee in order to have your license with them. It really all depends. But as a real estate agent, you really need to understand that you are not ever going to get all of the commission. It's going to go to your broker and then you will receive a portion of it. How much of that portion you get depends on the broker that you pick. So let's get into the fun part. Let's get you your license. So let's talk about how you get your license. The easiest way to get your license is really to just Google what the requirements are. So in every single state, you have to get a different real estate license. Licensing is based on the state that you're in when it comes to real estate agents. So for example, I got my real estate license in 2006 when I lived in Georgia. But then when I moved to Texas, I had to get a Texas real estate license. And now that I'm in Florida, I have a Florida Florida real estate license. So again, whatever state that you live in is where you have to be licensed in, and you are not able to practice real estate in a state that you are not licensed in. For example, if I'm not licensed in the state of Utah, I cannot go to Utah and represent buyers and sellers. I have to get a real estate license in order to do so. So Florida is a great state to get a real estate license in because the real estate business here is awesome right now. It's been that way for many years, and the trends show that it is growing. So the great thing about Florida is that you can get your real estate license whether you live in the state of Florida or whether you don't. They actually have a program called a non-residence license, meaning if you're licensed in another state, depending on what state it is, they may have reciprocity and you may be able to get your license in Florida while having a license in another state. It's awesome. Florida is one of the few states that allows you to do this. There aren't very many. The great thing about Florida also, when we're talking about getting your license, is the process is very easy. They have right now, when you look in the guidelines, you'll see that you need 63 hours of pre-licensing education, meaning you need to go to real estate school, get a Florida real estate pre-licensing class, and it will be 63 hours. Not saying that you have to stay there for 63 hours straight, but it's 63 hours of content that you must fulfill before you can even take the test to get your real estate license. So those classes are very inexpensive, and like I said, I was able to get my Florida license before I even moved into the state of Florida because I was in Virginia and they had reciprocity with the state of Virginia. If you think 63 hours is a lot, you should see what Texas is. In fact, it's 180 hours required in the state of Texas before you can get your license. 180 hours versus 63, man, that's nearly double. But I've done both. So just so you know, every state is different, so check out your state and see what it is. So now that we've determined you can get a Florida license even if you're not a resident of Florida, and that is an awesome thing, please check and see if your state has reciprocity with Florida. So one of the great things about a Florida license is that it's very inexpensive. One of the things I said, of course, is that the licensing requirements are not very high. 63 hours is not very many. I'm not saying that 63 hours of education isn't a lot. It is. But just for comparison, it's much more in other states. So that's what makes Florida's real estate license so much easier to get than other states. Additionally, you can be licensed even if you're not a resident of Florida. Another great thing, and you'll find this to be absolutely amazing, I have literally seen courses for your real estate license in the state of Florida as low as $100, meaning you can go to real estate school and fulfill all of the requirements and all of the education that you need for $100. It's absolutely amazing. I've had students that have completed their real estate education in Florida in less than a week. You can do the exact same thing too. So as I mentioned to you before, I got my Florida real estate license before I ever moved to the state of Florida. And if you want to start investing in real estate in Florida before you move here or before you have your license, I have an amazing opportunity. You literally can invest in real estate with my company, 𝗎REZ. That's NUUREZ.com. 𝗎REZ. We're a next generation real estate company that acquires properties and we use them for short-term rentals, and we split the profits with our investors 60-40. And for an investment as little as $500, you can get 500 shares in our company and we will share the profits with you. We also let you submit properties to us because we're acquiring properties like crazy and we want to pay you for sending in properties. Additionally, if you refer other investors, you get money, and you can stay at our vacation rental properties, in some cases, absolutely free. 𝗎REZ is an awesome opportunity to start investing in real estate. You can check it out, invest in us, or you can check us out and see exactly what we're doing and do the exact same thing too. So check out my new book where I teach you all about how to invest in real estate starting from scratch, even for beginners. I teach you how to invest in real estate even if you have bad credit and no money, the same way that I did. And the best thing about this book, it's absolutely free. Check it out at noelsfreebook.com. Again, that's noelsfreebook.com. I have a complete book that I've written just for you. I want to make sure that you have all of the information, all of the resources, and all of the knowledge that you need to be successful. This is Noel, to your success.